Man, what is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New coming at you this Friday morning. First and foremost, as always, just want to send out positive vibes, positive energy, and positive vibrations to everybody who could be listening right now. So, as we all know, the Los Angeles Lakers fell to the Phoenix Suns last night. And I'm sure there's a great many of you who tune in, who are, of course, Lakers fans and LeBron fans, and both, this is a solemn day to you all. But to me, today is not a day to hold your head down or a day to be, sad or anything like that, because in sports, sometimes the best team is going to win. And the Phoenix Suns just came out the past two games and they smelt blood in the water. And once Anthony Davis went down, the Lakers just couldn't find themselves. And I know I said in the previous video that the Lakers still had a chance to win the game. And I still think they had a chance to win the game. And leading into the game on yesterday, I really thought that the Lakers were going to win, especially when they announced that Marc Gasol would be starting and Anthony Davis. And the reason I thought that was because I'm like, okay, well, maybe the strain wasn't as bad that Anthony Davis had, although we had already saw the video of him struggling. But I just want to say this. The media, people like Charles Barkley, Stephen A. Smith, all you people that just want to give a person a hard time because they're injured, whether he's injury prone or not, to me, I think a lot of the chirping and everything that he heard made Anthony Davis want to suit it up when he didn't need to and didn't have to and shouldn't have. And I think even leading into the game, like Stephen A. saying, you have to be there for your brother. You have to suit up. You have to give it a go. And, how people looking at you and people saying, oh, you Anthony Street Clothes Davis. And, and in his mind, he felt like, if I go out here and attempt to give it a go, then at least I go out like a soldier. And then, people cannot say, well, hey, at least he didn't try. And that way they don't try to hurt his legacy or his name or, his reputation. And people care a lot about reputation. I do understand that. But, Anthony Davis, you still young. But as you get older in life, you have to sometimes get to the point and just realize that you don't need to really give a damn about what people think about you. You understand what I'm saying? Now, everybody is going to have critics no matter what you do in life. But for you to go out there knowing that you were in no condition to play in an NBA game, yet let alone an NBA playoff game, I think was a bad decision by not only Anthony Davis. It was a bad decision by the Lakers medical staff. It was a bad decision by the Lakers coaching staff. And had they brought Marc Gasol out and started, with maybe Markieff Morris or either Kuzma or somebody else without Anthony Davis, I think the Lakers would have had a shot. But when you have a hobbled Anthony Davis to start the game, who they can clearly tell that he is clearly not himself, then there's extra blood in the water. And, they go out into a quick lead. And at this point, what can you do? And then Anthony Davis is hurt. And at this point, now the Lakers really are holding their heads down, and they find themselves in the same situation that they were in last time. And I think that played a big part in the game, and I think that was a terrible move to put Anthony Davis out there in a situation like that. I would have rather the Lakers go out there and give it their all and still rest Anthony Davis, because even if you were to win that series, now you further aggravated the groin, so he wouldn't have been available for the next series. So what you would have wanted to do is to rest Anthony Davis and allow him to maybe be ready for a Game 7 at that point. Or if they could somehow win the Game 7 without him, be prepared for the next series versus Denver when you would really have needed him. But it was not to be. And, of course, I do not want to just make excuses, because what I actually would love to do is to give Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns their propers, because they came out with heart. They're a well-coached team. I mean, when they came out, Crowder was just hitting 3 after 3. Booker came out smoking. I mean, everybody was just hitting 3 after 3, and they did not miss any shots. and that's a testament to them, and that's something that the Lakers are going to have to improve on, finding people outside that's capable of hitting those perimeter shots on a consistent basis. But that's something that we did not see. And Crowder, I believe, and this is something I do want to mention too, because, as much as I love LeBron James and I'm a great fan of him, I don't know if you guys remember, but in that Dallas series that they lost back in the finals, LeBron, they got so excited. They was up 2-1. They did a lot of celebrating on the bench, and LeBron had learned from that moment, not to do that anymore, because you saw what happened in that series and how much it turned and how much that ignited that Dallas team. So here we are in the same situation when when he was playing the one-on-one against Crowder, and the whole bench was getting all excited, and everything was going good, and the Lakers went up 2-1, and you thought it was going to be 3-1 easily, and then they're going to be getting rest for the next series. Everybody was thinking that, but then lo and behold, AD hurts the knee. Then lo and behold, he aggravates the groin. So then what do you have? You have a Lakers team that has no fight left in them at all. And I know in previous videos I said that LeBron James, I thought he was at close to 100%. He even said he was close to 100%. But if he's not close to 100%, then I will say, that Father Time is catching up with him, because which I cannot believe that, because he was leading in the MVP race in the top 2 or 3 in the league just a few months ago prior to his injury. I just don't think he could go down that quickly. But I do think, just at his age, I think it was a combination of both. And I'm not necessarily saying it's the ankle. I just think he's at that age to where he can't carry a whole team by himself, especially if those players aren't capable of hitting outside shots, because Monty Williams and the coaching staff was smart enough to implement a defense to shut down LeBron James in this series once Anthony Davis went out, to force the others to have to beat them. So anytime LeBron James went to the paint, there was a wall waiting for them. They went to such a zone to where they built a defensive wall to where all eyes was on LeBron James, and anytime he got anywhere near the paint, he was going to take on more than one defender, and he wasn't going to be able to get the proper penetration to the paint that he needed to be successful. And that's why you weren't really seeing him explode to the paint. The defense that Phoenix played had a great deal to do with that. So they said, you know what, we're going to force the others to beat us. A lot of teams take the different philosophy and will say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to let LeBron go crazy and do whatever, and we're going to hold the others. But they said, no. We're going to force the others to beat them, because we don't have faith in the others. And speaking of not having faith in the others, Frank Vogel and his coaching staff didn't have faith in the others. And I think that's what really was detrimental to the series as well, because Frank Vogel, he switched the lineup so many different times. He had no idea. He was discombobulated on what he wanted to do. And no player, besides for Anthony Davis and LeBron James, averaged, minus AD, of course, and Schroeder, averaged more than 30 minutes in the game. So nobody. Marcus Gasol averaged 17, 18 minutes. Drummond averaged 18, 19 minutes. THT averaged 10 minutes. Kuzma averaged 12, 13 minutes. Like, you just throwing in people here and there and sprinkling and not knowing what you were wanting to do. Whereas Phoenix picked out a solid lineup, and they went 8 deep, occasionally 9, but for the most part, they went 8 deep with Campaign and the other Cameron guy. And they just went deep, 8 deep. And they had that lineup in place, and that's what they trusted, and that's what they went with. But Vogel, he didn't, after AD went down, he had no idea what he wanted to do. And then that really hurts players' confidence. And I think the locker room got out of control. I think with Montrez tweeting the things he was tweeting about loyalty and broken promises, he was upset about his minutes, which I think he could have handled it better, because you have to take everything like a profession, and you just got to be professional. And if your supervisor or whoever it is come to you and make a decision, hey, that is what it is, guess what? Your check not changing. If my supervisor come to me and says, you know what, be new, you got to do this. This is what we're going to take away from you. Or this, you know what? I'm still getting paid the same. And I know it's a sense of pride, but at the end of the day, it's all about team. Together, everyone achieves more. It's all about team. And speaking of acronyms, y'all haters was real quick to jump on all the little comments in my videos and, you know, in my DMs and everything else real quick, because you pray for the next person downfall. You're not cheering for your team, because I'm sure the Phoenix Suns is not your team, but it's just like everybody, you know, Brooklyn, they team, then Golden State, they team, then Dallas, they team, then the Spurs, they team. Just whoever is against LeBron James, that's all of a sudden is their team, you know. So, but they quick to pray for somebody downfall. But that's what I say. I give much love to the haters, and we all know that acronym for hater is having anger towards all those achieving success. Why are you having anger towards all those achieving success? And, you know, I do this for fun. I love analyzing games, and I love interacting with everybody on the page. And hopefully one day, you know, I can elevate this channel into something more than what it is. If not, either way, I'm not going to be upset about it, because I know there's way more important things in life, you know. And when you have way more important things in life like that, then you tend to focus on those. And that's at the end of the day. That's why I said at the end of the day, that's why I send love to those haters. At the end of the day, that's why I send love to those haters. So let me just tell y'all like this: if you hating on people that achieve success, then that's only gonna bring you down yourself. So if you're one of those type people, then just try to change your attitude. And it's kind of like that, like as far as the rest of the series is concerned. So like, there's no more series left, but I mean, as far as the rest of the teams that's out there remaining. So a lot of people I noticed said, oh man, the Lakers out, I'm not watching anymore, I'm through with it. No, I mean, I love the game of basketball, so I'm going to continue to watch, I'm going to continue to analyze. But the difference between me and others is I'm not a hater. I'm not sitting up here like, oh, I want Kevin Durant to lose, I want Kevin Durant not to win any rings, because I don't want him to surpass LeBron James, because we all know Kevin Durant only has 2 rings and LeBron has 4. We all know that Steph Curry has 3 and LeBron has 4. We all know that within these past, since 2003 or whatever, LeBron James has more rings than any of his counterparts that have been playing since 2003. Some that's retired since then, and other young ones who's coming up and still playing. Giannis doesn't have any. Harden doesn't have any. Westbrook doesn't have any. So people want to say, well, nobody got rings on Michael Jordan watch. It's the same difference with LeBron, and we all know the reason why Golden State won those last 2 championships. But you know what? It's in the ramification of the rules. Nobody hating on them, and I'm not going to sit up here and hate on Kevin Durant or the Brooklyn Nets, you know, and say, well, they formed another super team and they're going to go out and win the championship. But that doesn't mean you can't cheer for another player that you may like. So, you know, pick somebody you like. You know, you might like the way Devin Booker play basketball, and you might say, you know what, I'm going to pull for Phoenix because that's the team that eliminated my team. So at least we could say I lost to the eventual champion, and let's come out and get it next year. You know, so there's all kind of different ways you can look at it. But at the end of the day, I'm just not the type of person who could go out and just pray for the next person downfall and be so happy to see somebody else lose. And that's the majority of, and that's why we call them haters, y'all. And people say, I'm not a hater, I'm not a hater. Man, yes you are. It's because you want to see somebody else fail. And I know in sports, you're going to have winners and you're going to have losers. So you're saying, well, if they lose, then of course you cheering for the next person to fail. No, I'm cheering for my team. That's just a casualty along the way. You understand what I'm saying? That the other team had to lose, but I'm not sitting up praying for their downfall or injuries or anything else like that, because at the end of the day, like I was saying about LeBron, at the age he is now, if he doesn't have shooters around him, he can't just carry a team. And he was very fatigued playing all those minutes, a day on, day off, day on, day off. It took a toll on him trying to have to do so much without having an Anthony Davis, you know. So the thing is, people want to say, well, this was a bubble ring, blah, blah, blah. You know, Miami got put out, the Lakers got put out. Was the ring real? But if that was the case, then why the other teams didn't win it? when they had an ample opportunity to. So at the end of the day, don't try to take away from another man's success. That's just another example of hating, like I just said, because you're trying to take away from another man's success. But at the end of the day, had the Lakers been healthy, I still would have picked the Lakers to get further than what they did, and probably still win the finals, because even Kevin Durant himself said Anthony Davis, when healthy, is a cheat code. And then that could have built the Lakers' confidence. But just moving into the offseason and things like that, we know Dennis Schroeder last night said he wants to be back, but yet he never signed his extension. Frank Vogel has one more year left on his contract. I'm hoping they fire him and secure Jason Kidd, so Jason Kidd doesn't end up going to coach the Boston Celtics. Send Frank Vogel to the Boston Celtics. How about that? Send Frank Vogel to the Boston Celtics. But also, I did want to touch on how the Lakers, did come back into the game. But when you're down by so much and you try to fight back, it's just way too much energy you have to put out. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that they showed heart and made it into a game, because going out like 30 or 40 or something like that is just a terrible way. But then there was another thing, when the Lakers were cutting it down like that, they didn't have any consistent people who could hit a three-point shot. They didn't have any people who was consistent, who can knock down the open shots. And somebody pull up the stat for me and get a chance to put it in comments, but I forget what the percentage was of how many wide open threes the Lakers missed. Not just threes, contested threes, but wide open threes, meaning that there's no defender within 3 feet of you. So, and that's another thing, like Caruso wasn't getting minutes. Like, he didn't know what he wanted to do. So now you're giving it to THT. Like, get your rotation, Frank Vogel. Once AD went down, you got to find your rotation and stick to it. And I understand it's about matchups and adjustments. But at this point, Phoenix been doing the same thing since game 3 or 4, basically. They've been doing the exact same thing, and they've been playing the exact same lineup. And you and your staff could not figure it out. And I think the disunity, I still want to touch on that. I think the disunity in the locker room, as far as Shreyas tweeting cryptic messages. And then, of course, as you all know, Andre Drummond was at DNP last night. Like, how dumb was that? Like, even though I wanted Marc Gasol to start, Drummond could still come in and give you quality minutes off the bench, because he could play some of the minutes when LeBron's not in, and some when he in, and stagger the minutes. But if Aiden is playing the majority of the game, they weren't even playing Saric. Saric got cut out of the whole rotation. That's the thing. He shortened his rotation, and the Lakers never did. And that was because of Frank Vogel's lack of trust in the players. And once you create a locker room of people that's disgruntled, because Andre Drummond even tweeted the other day talking about it is what it is, I guess I'm going to pray about it or whatever. Go back and see what his tweet was yesterday, I believe, which was a telling sign that he wasn't going to start. But damn, to think that he would get a whole DNP, I mean, that's a lot. That is a lot. But at the end of the day, I think the Lakers could have played better. They could at least made it a game and forced a game 7. I'm not going to put everything on the coaching staff. I'm not going to put everything on Frank Vogel. But I think bringing Anthony Davis out there was part of most of the reason why they did lose the beginning quarters, and why they got down by so much. It just made no sense to bring him out. I think that played a big part into it. And LeBron, he could have been more aggressive. He started to get more aggressive later in the game, but I think he should have came out more aggressive in the beginning of the first quarter, but he did not. So it is what it is at this point. One bright way to look at it is, especially for people that are LeBron James fans, one bright way to look at it is he won't have a finals loss this year, because it would have been a tall task to beat who I still think are going to win. Kyrie's going to win his 2nd ring, Durant will win his 3rd ring, and Harden will win his 1st ring. That would have been a tall task for the Lakers with a hobbled Anthony Davis. It wouldn't have happened. So, instead of LeBron being 4-7 in the finals, he'll stick to being 4-6 right now. But as we can all see, all of these things are team sports and team accomplishments. But the good thing is, that was the quickest turnaround ever those teams, like I mentioned before, Miami and the Lakers, they had just played all the way up into October and had the shortest turnaround ever to start a season. And then, of course, with COVID and everything else, it's just like the Lakers could never build any continuity. Now, with that being said, the Brooklyn Nets kind of dealt with that as well, with stints where KD was out for a long time and stints where Harden was out for a long time. But now they're all back healthy and whole, and that's different between when role players and everybody else is out and they have to learn how to play. It's a difference between them learning how to play by themselves versus having to play with superstars. It makes a big difference. But, the Brooklyn Nets, hey, 3 superstars, they coming back. That's just my prediction that they will hoist the trophy for this year. I think the Milwaukee Bucks is going to get them a run for their money, but ultimately, I just don't think they have the scoring necessary to be able to keep up with them. The Jeff Green injury will play a part in it, but we shall see. One thing about it is they don't have anybody who matches up with Giannis. We saw that in the previous matchups when they played this year. So maybe that's something we can look forward to breaking down in the future. So, everybody just stick with me. We're going to talk about this all the way through the finals and through the offseason. And, of course, we can stick up with Lakers news to see who they will be signing, who they can trade, who they can get rid of, how they can improve this roster. They got a lot of decisions to make, especially with Drummond. There was lots of talks that they want to keep him, but at the end of the day, I don't know if he's worth the money that he may be wanting, and especially since he got the DNP to end the series, how they could have ruffled his feathers with him, the front office, the coaching staff, and whoever else. But that's just something that's going to have to be worked out in the locker room. But just to be honest, I feel like the Lakers are going to definitely make some moves over the summer. They're going to have to, and it's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of free agents, and that's something we could talk about on another show, because at this point, there is no more basketball left for the Los Angeles Lakers to play this year. But don't hang your head down. It's just a game. At the end of the day, I don't think it really impacted LeBron's legacy. I know he's been with the Lakers 3 years. One was no playoffs where he was injured, but hey, 1 championship out of 3 years is pretty damn good, especially to where the Lakers organization was before he arrived. So I still think that rested, healthy LeBron James, even a year older next year, AD just needs to do what he needs to do to get himself into better game shape and take care of his body. And if he can stay healthy, and they can just add at least one more good shooter, a good 3-and-D person, like by getting rid of Danny Green, like the whole thing, it was just never good. It started off good. I think if they would have kept the whole team intact from the beginning that they had initially, and they built some continuity and playing time together, it could have did something special. But it just was not to be. I really thought the Lakers could have won, but at the end of the day, I knew it was going to be very difficult. But what I try to do is to keep everybody motivated. I feel like that's my job. I want to motivate everybody, and positive thoughts always bring about positive results. But at the end of the day, a lot of negativity crept into my mind and to everybody else's, and at this point, it is what it is. But as always, we're going to shake it off, and we're going to come back stronger and better. And as always, right on to the real, and much love to them haters. I'm out, baby.